Good afternoon, friends. How goes it? Another beautiful day. I love beautiful days. And I had this thought occur to me that seemed just so simple and elegant and yet sums up so much. Life is messy. It's a term that really defines so much of how I feel at times. Life is messy. It's not just complicated or confusing, but messy. I'm a I'm of the mentality that life is what you make of it. And from what I've seen, according to the research in my own life that I've done and the observations that I've made, that people can pretty much create any reality they want for themselves. They can fall for a cult leader, or they can move into the mountains and never talk to another soul again, depending on so many different factors. And even when we try to identify why people do the things they do and why they are the way they are, you can't really tie it to any specific events or personality traits. We're desperate to say this happened to a person as a child, therefore this happened. Or this person was born under this star sign, so therefore this is why they are this way. Sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't. I would say it's more of correlation than causation. In other words, people are always looking for patterns. This is one of those things as humans that is universal within human nature. We're always looking for patterns because it helped us survive. And you've probably heard the stories of how you were better off if you heard a rustling in the bushes to hide than to ignore it, because it could just be a rabbit, but it could be a lion. And the idea that if you see a face, what they call pareidolia, where you see a face and you think that you're seeing this, or maybe it's apophenia. I always get the two mixed up. One is where you see patterns, and the other is where that aren't there, and the other is where you see faces in things, and that's natural evolution of mankind to try to avoid danger. But my point here is that trying to tie all these things together, explain why humans are the way we are, has always been more entertainment than actual information. I've watched the documentaries, I've looked at the science papers, I've looked at the psychology, I've tried to look at the science, the biology, understanding neurochemistry, and all of this as a layman. I'm not claiming that I'm a, excel in all these fields of knowledge, but rather that I've just dabbled in about everything I can about human nature, because it's fascinating to me how messy life really is, when at the same time humans are so desperate to try to solve these puzzles and figure out why we are the way we are. We have neurochemists who spend their whole lives studying brain chemistry. We have neuromappers who spend their whole life and their whole career on machines reading the brain and mapping these and working with other people, different neuroscientists, understanding the vagus nerve and how it connects to the stomach and how the body is interconnected and how we're mostly bacteria and other cells. And then we find out that we don't even really know who we are. We don't know why we're here. We're just doing what we're doing, and then we create our own reality. And then a person dabbles in psychology, they dabble in philosophy, and they end up pondering nihilism, which is just letting go of everything you thought was true in order to rebuild something that means something to you. So therefore, the answer to this question of, how do we get over the messiness of life, is that we clean up our minds. And that's going to be subjective as to how we do that. I'm going to pause this until the sirens are over. I hate sirens. I hate living in a place where I hear sirens on a regular basis. It's one of the most annoying things about living here. And I would like to move. Hey, stop digging holes in my garden, please. My dog's digging holes in my garden. There's always a distraction because life is messy. So what I wanted to finally cover here was beyond this, the philosophy. I'm not trying to get too deep on this. It's more the idea that life is messy and complicated, and that people take it so fucking seriously. And I mean, I get it. Life is a serious endeavor. It's all we know. And we have to take it for what it is. We have to move forward with some sort of a purpose and create a reality for ourselves. But some people just take it so damn seriously. Especially some of the extreme religious groups or evangelicals or cults that believe that there's only one way to think, their way is the correct way to think, and everybody else is just deluded. It's the idea of hell, which I've, mentioned in the past. There's no such thing as hell. And if there is, then most people are going there, and so you might as well go with them. Like, everyone I know will be in hell, according to some people's beliefs. So, we've created so many realities for ourselves to try to understand the world around us. And it seems that we can't even grasp creating a purpose for ourselves on Earth sometimes, so we create one elsewhere. But that's another subject altogether. When I said life was messy, it reminded me of an old Bounty commercial or one of those paper towels. And back when I watched TV, so it's been at least a decade or so, my thought is that they probably used the same slogan. It was, life is messy, clean it up. And they'd show a mess and somebody would wipe it up with a paper towel. Now it's funny how these jingles and these slogans stick with you. Things like Nabisco Ding from the 80s, and but anyhow, it's not just the slogans, it's some of the slogans make sense in multiple ways. And this is why old terms and sayings and quotes from, philosophers, some of them are just so basic and obvious, but somebody had to say it kind of thing. So you hear these old quotes in Latin that sound really, wow, that's insightful, but it's something that we already know, but you think, oh, it's not like they were the first person to realize, life is what you make of it. Wow, that's insightful. But creating our own reality is what life is all about. So I better see what time it is here. I'm going to have to leave in a moment to pick up my son from school. It's one of those realities that we inhabit, one of those, I don't know, the daily routines that we put ourselves through, that we, are part of. It's always fascinated me that as humans, being born into this world with such confusion and chaos and utter, a lack of understanding about purpose and existence until we're taught something, that we can even endure through this life and still get along, shake hands, look each other in the eye and smile. It means that we're doing all right in spite of our, overwhelming curiosity and consciousness. So there's my ramble. Get out of here, fly. I'm out. Talk to y'all later. Thanks for listening to my ramble. Peace.